The music in the ballroom was loud enough to blur conversations, but soft enough to keep everything elegant. Crystal chandeliers hung above polished marble floors, casting warm light over groups of people dressed in expensive suits and glittering gowns. Laughter drifted through the air like perfume. Daniel Carter stood near the entrance, adjusting the sleeve of his dark blue jacket. He hated these parties. Corporate events were always the same. Smiles that didn't reach the eyes. Conversations about deals and status. People measuring each other with quick glances at watches and shoes. His colleague Mark slapped him on the shoulder earlier that evening. "Relax," Mark had said with a grin. "Tonight is about appearances. I even arranged something for you." Daniel had frowned. "Arranged what?" "An escort. Beautiful girl. Smart too. You won't look like the lonely CEO tonight." Daniel didn't like the idea, but the event mattered. Investors, partners, board members. Image mattered in his world. So he had agreed. He checked his watch when the ballroom. Doors opened and a young woman stepped inside. She wore a simple black dress that contrasted with the extravagant outfits around her. Her hair was dark and fell gently over her shoulders. She wasn't overly glamorous like many of the women in the room, but something about her presence drew attention. She walked toward him slowly. "Daniel?" she asked softly. Her voice carried a quiet confidence. "That's me," he replied. "I'm Lily." Up close, he noticed something unexpected. Her eyes. They weren't nervous like most escorts he had seen at events like this. They were observant, thoughtful. "You look different from what I expected," Daniel admitted. She smiled faintly. "Good different or bad different?" "Good," he said. They walked together into the ballroom. At first the night followed the usual pattern. Daniel introduced her to business partners. People complimented her elegance. Conversations flowed easily. Lily spoke politely but rarely tried to dominate the room. She listened more than she talked. And Daniel noticed something unusual. She wasn't impressed by the wealth around her. When a billionaire investor bragged about his third vacation home, Lily simply nodded and asked about his family instead. The man paused, surprised, then softened as he talked about his daughter. Daniel watched the interaction carefully. "You're good with people," he whispered as they walked away. "I like hearing real things," she replied. Quietly, not just success stories. Hours passed. The music changed to something slower. At one point, Daniel stepped onto the balcony for fresh air. The cool night wind brushed against his face. Lily followed a moment later. The city lights stretched across the skyline like thousands of glowing stars. She leaned lightly against the railing. "This view is beautiful," she said. Daniel nodded. "I used to think views like this meant you made it. And now? Now I'm not sure what making it means anymore." She looked at him carefully. "You seem tired," she said. He chuckled softly. "Running companies does that." There was a quiet moment between them. The music from inside floated through the open doors. Then Lily leaned a little closer and spoke in a softer voice. "My age isn't a problem, right?" Daniel blinked, confused. "Your age?" She hesitated before answering. "I turned 18 last week." The words landed like a sudden drop in temperature. Daniel's chest tightened. "What?" he said under his breath. "I didn't lie," she quickly added. "The agency checked everything. I'm legally allowed to work." He studied her face more carefully now. The calm expression, the maturity in her voice. But behind it there was something fragile, something too young. "How did you end up doing this?" Daniel asked slowly. She looked out at the city lights again. "My mom got sick last year," she said. "Cancer." Her voice trembled for the first time. "The treatments cost more than we had. I tried working at a cafe and a bookstore, but it wasn't enough." Daniel felt something twist inside him. "So you chose this?" he asked gently. "I chose survival." Her honesty hit him harder than he expected. Inside the ballroom, people laughed, glasses clinked. Deals were being discussed worth millions of dollars. And here stood a girl who had entered that world just to keep her mother alive. "How much are they paying you tonight?" Daniel asked. $800. $800. Daniel had spent more than that on a bottle of wine earlier in the evening. He felt suddenly ashamed. "Does your mother know?" he asked. Lily shook her head. "She thinks I'm working extra shifts at a restaurant." Silence settled between them again. Daniel stared out at the skyline, but he wasn't seeing buildings anymore. He was remembering his own mother working late nights, exhausted trying to give him a future. For a moment, he imagined what she would think if she saw him now. Then he looked back at Lily. "You shouldn't have to do this," he said quietly. She gave a small, sad smile. "Sometimes life doesn't give us many choices." The music inside the ballroom shifted again, louder now. Daniel took a deep breath. "What's your dream?" he asked suddenly. She looked surprised. "My dream?" "Yes." For a moment she didn't answer. Then her eyes softened. "I want to study medicine," she said. "I want to become a doctor." Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. "That's a big dream." "I know," she said quietly. "But dreams are free." They stood there for another long moment. Then Daniel reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small card. It was his personal number. He handed it to her. "Call me tomorrow," he said. She looked confused. "Why?" "Because I want to help." Her eyes widened slightly. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." She stared at the card as if it might disappear. "Why would you do that?" Daniel smiled gently. "Because someone helped my mother once when we had nothing, and I promised myself that if I ever had the chance, I'd do the same." Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. The night eventually ended. They returned inside, finished the event, and parted ways with a quiet goodbye. But the story didn't end there. 2 years later, Daniel sat in a quiet hospital waiting room holding a cup of coffee. The door opened and a young woman in medical scrubs walked in. Her hair was tied back now, her posture more confident. But her eyes were the same. "Daniel," she said with a bright smile. "Lily." She sat beside him. "I passed my second-year exams today," she said proudly. "I knew you would." She laughed softly. "You changed my life, you know." Daniel shook his head. "No, you changed it yourself. I just opened a door." She looked down for a moment before speaking again. "My mom is cancer-free now." Daniel felt warmth spread through his chest. "That's the best news I've heard all year." Lily looked at him with deep gratitude. "You know something?" she said. "What?" "That night at the party, I thought the richest people in the room were the ones wearing the most expensive suits." Daniel smiled. "And now?" She looked at him with shining eyes. "Now I know the richest person is the one who chooses kindness when they don't have to." And in that quiet hospital hallway, far away from the glittering ballroom where they first met, Daniel finally understood something that money had never been able to buy. The true measure of a person was not what they wore to impress the world. It was what they chose to give when no one expected it.